Hello, everybody. I just gave it a few seconds to warm up. Welcome to the DYL Pickle Movie Network, a live stream. I don't do a lot of these, especially not a lot of impromptu live streams, but it is March and I am back from vacation. I'm finally settled in and I have decided to do another March Madness. This is something we did, I think, not a year ago, but 2 years ago. We did a director bracket, which was super, super fun. David Fincher won that, and David Fincher's video will be coming out real soon this year. But I wanted to do another March Madness, not looking at directors, because I have a lot of directors now that I know, I know what people are interested in seeing director-wise for videos and rankings, but this is going to be a franchise bracket where I've taken 64 of the most popular non-MCU, because we have a whole MCU podcast, Kelsey and I, but non-MCU franchises, and not Jurassic Park either, because JD asked for that video, and we're doing that video. But I have taken basically 64 of the highest grossing, most popular, most plentiful franchises from anywhere from 3 to 300 movies, and put them in a bracket. I took a bunch of stats. I crunched a bunch of stats. I took their Rotten Tomatoes average. I took their Letterboxd averages. I took their box office estimates. I took the average box office. I took adjusted for inflation into account to create seeding from 1 to 16. So there's 4 1 seeds, 4 2 seeds, 4 3 seeds, all the way to 16. So 64 teams in our bracket. And I've assembled this giant bracket to show to you, to reveal to you, because today the first 4 matches will be eligible to be voted upon. And I will put that link in the description at the very end of this video. So make sure to stay around to the end so you can vote for those first 4 matches. But I'm going to do a bracket reveal because it's kind of cool. And I love March Madness. I love basketball and I love bracket season. So in spirit of March Madness, I've decided to make my movie spin on it, and give you this bracket of 64. So we're going to look at the top left quadrant of the bracket here, to reveal what will be the first few matchups of this bracket. And I'm really excited because I think there's a really good variety, and just looking at these random matchups. So what I did is, as I said, I seeded these, basically ranking them from 1 to 64 after averaging their Rotten Tomatoes, Letterboxd, Metacritic, box office, social media. I took all these numbers, put them all together, and basically ranked them from 1 to 64, and then I put them in seeds based on that. So the 4 top ones were the 1 seeds. They're in each corner of the bracket, and the bottom 4 are the 16 seeds. So that's kind of how it works for people who don't know much about brackets. And it was a very interesting set of matchups. Like, I really like the different matchups we got here. Hey, Brian. Hey, Chris. Thanks for tuning in. But yeah, I really like the matchups we got because so many of them are so weird. Like, you're not going to get a lot of horror matchups. You're going to get some matchups of like kids animated movies with horror. Then you have some fantasy franchises with action franchises. It's really cool how this shook out. So this is looking at the top left portion of the bracket. The number 1 overall seed of the draft was, no surprise, Avatar. The reviews are all pretty good. The 2 of them were Best Picture nominees, and it grossed so much money that the average gross for these movies is so astronomically higher, much higher than all the other franchises in this bracket. So Avatar, based on reviews, box office, all that, is your number 1 overall seed in this bracket. Now, how bracketologists do it is we reveal the number 1 seed, and then we'll reveal the whole quadrant. We won't go 1, 1, 1, 1. We'll go 1, then 16. We'll basically reveal the bracket as it is, as we're going to see these matchups. But Avatar, the number 1 seed in this bracket, not based on bias, I promise. I will vote for these, but I'm 1 vote. So my vote is definitely going to Avatar no matter what it's going up against. But you guys can make the upset if you want. But the 16 seed battling against Avatar comes from Hellraiser, the horror division. Hellraiser, the 16 seed, the lowest ranked film franchise of all 64, but it is on this bracket. It made the 64. It is here. It'll be taking on Avatar in the first round. As for the 5 seed here, the 8 seed. The 8 seed here, we have the Conjuring franchise, a horror franchise, taking on the 9 seed, Bad Boys. So again, we got horror, we got action, the Conjuring franchise and the Bad Boys franchise. The Conjuring franchise also including, of course, the Annabelle movies, the Nun movies, and all the Conjuring spinoffs and all that. So moving on now to the 5 seed, I believe, in this bracket. Let's just make sure that this is going to be the 5 seed, because it's either the 4 or the 5. I think it's the 5 seed. Yes, Jumanji, the 5 seed in this bracket. I just need to make sure it was either 4 or 5, but, Jumanji, the 5 seed in this bracket, obviously including all the newer films as well, taking on the 12 seed, which is Final Destination. Final Destination and Jumanji will be squaring off there in the first round. Now, for the 4 seed in this bracket, you kind of see the D already. It's the Disney live action franchise. It's a little bit of a stretch, but this is all the Disney live action remakes, not Disney live action films, but Disney live action remakes. Because they're all kind of one of the same series. They're all taking these classic animated films, reimagining them. I'm kind of grouping them together as one big franchise, even though they're not really connected necessarily. But they will be taking on the the 13 seed Jaws, the Jaws franchise. That's right, it is a franchise. You would forget sometimes. It's not just that one movie, but it's a whole franchise. So there you go. That is the pick right there. Now I believe we're moving on to the 3 seed. It's either the 3 or the 6. I got to remember which order I did it in. This is going to be the 3 seed. It's Toy Story. Toy Story, the 3 seed. A big pull in this bracket. Looking very strong here. Taking on the 14 seed being Evil Dead. Yeah, so you got toys coming to life at night. You got Evil Dead kind of having that spirit in a different way. Yeah, Jumanji final. I'll take all comments after each quadrant of this bracket. How about that? Because I see a lot of people already reacting. But we have got the 3 seed, 14 seed matchup. Now let's move on to the 6 seed in this bracket. We've got Godzilla, and this is a huge one. Godzilla franchise. We're going to be encompassing, I believe, 38 films with that. So if you vote for Godzilla and it makes it all the way to the end, that's going to be 38 films we will have to cover for Godzilla. But they will be taking on the 11 seed, which is Ghostbusters. All old and new Ghostbusters. We got some Reitmans there in the bracket. But moving on to the 7 seed in this bracket. The 7 seed, Superman. Superman. This is anything involving Superman. This can also include the DCEU Superman efforts, the newer gun efforts, the older efforts with Christopher Reeve, and of course, the spin-off animated stuff too. Anything theatrically animated. I wanted to go easy on myself and not necessarily do every single animated version of Superman, but Superman, as many theatrical releases as we can do for that one. Taking on the 10 seed here, American Pie. American Pie getting a 10 seed. A bit surprising, probably for some that it landed this high at the 10, but when I crunched the numbers, it was definitely more profitable than some of these other franchises below it, and very popular out there. American Pie for a very specific generation. But let's round out this bracket with the 2 seed being Transformers. This one is doing a lot of heavy lifting with the money. The money got Transformers into this 2 seed. That is a big pull for Transformers, and you'll be taking on the 15 seed Winnie the Pooh. Winnie the Pooh had a lot of great theatrical releases. Being the first theatrical release I ever saw was the Tigger movie. So looking at this side of the bracket, obviously Avatar, the heavy hitter here with money and reviews, but another sneaky franchise that I think a lot of people are going to be looking at as the favorite in this quadrant is going to be Toy Story. Toy Story obviously has not missed yet, but we are including Lightyear with that, and Lightyear is kind of what brought it down to the 3 seed, not keeping it at the 1 seed, because any Toy Story related media will be there. So that is kind of going to be the big story, is even with Lightyear, can Toy Story make it run to the final? You got some big superhero franchises here. You got Superman. Yeah, no other superheroes in this bracket, but you got a lot of other great superhero franchises coming up. In this horror division here, we have Hellraiser, Conjuring, Final Destination, Jaws, Evil Dead, Godzilla, a lot of horror. And I guess Ghostbusters has like a ghostly feel to it, obviously, so you don't necessarily want to call it horror, but has some horror imagery, I guess. So a lot of horror representation, a lot of kids representation. You got Disney, you got Toy Story, you've got Winnie the Pooh, and then you got your kind of wild cards. You got American Pie. Who knows? Maybe the fan base will come out for that. Jumanji, Bad Boys. I think it's a really cool collection of films here. Let's see what the people are saying here. Annabelle really slaps. Yeah, so we're already getting some big buzz about The Conjuring. And I will tell you right now, Brian, the first matchup that you will get to vote on today is the 8-9 matchup. Conjuring versus Bad Boys will be on the poll today. So put in your vote for The Conjuring if you want to put it in for Bad Boys. Jumanji Final Destination is a great matchup. Yes. Two very different franchises, but both have a lot of energy. Jaws versus Johnny Depp's Mad Hatter. That is right. What is worse, Jaws: The Revenge or Alice in Wonderland, Tim Burton? You guys will decide. Toy Story, Evil Dead. Yeah, I think we're looking at the hardest matchup here. It's definitely that. I think Evil Dead, obviously being so low budget, didn't make as much money as some of these other franchises, which is why it falls so low here in its seeding. It is, I believe, a 13 seed yeah, 14 seed. Yeah, Evil Dead Toy Story I think is going to be the toughest matchup here in terms of quality because they're also so different. I would say the next hardest one is probably going to be that Jumanji Final Destination 5-12 matchup there. It'd be really tough for some decisions. Godzilla being there. Yep, Godzilla had to be here. It's one of the biggest franchises in the world. I wanted to include some international rep as well. Not surprised by American Pie, popular 87 years ago. Matt is so funny. Yeah, Winnie the Pooh, underrated franchise. Oddly enough, yeah, had some big hitters there. Some big theatrical releases. Winnie the Pooh, a long-standing tradition. And when you look at merch sales too, I took merch sales into account too, and Winnie the Pooh had some very, very good merch sales. Horror comedy, yep. So it counts as a horror. Ghostbusters, Disney live action is interesting. Yeah, this is kind of the biggest stretch in terms of franchise, but it kind of filled out the bracket nicely. It was a good kind of way to represent a collection of films, even though they're not necessarily connected. So that is the top left portion of the bracket. Let us now get to the top right. This is going to be your next quadrant here, starting with the number 1 seed in this bracket. The Lion King. Really good reviews across all those films. I know I said theatrical only for some franchises' sakes, if it's like a small franchise like The Lion King, for example. For like Superman and Batman, when we get there, spoiler, Batman's on this list. When we get to Batman and Superman, those have tons of animated straight to video. Lion King, we will take those straight to videos, and those straight to videos have been pretty well received. Obviously, the live action remake making so much money in the box office as well. So that is really carried by two huge juggernaut films, the original 1994, and then of course the remake that made so much money. It gets the 1 seed here. The 16 seed, Pokemon. Got to catch them all. Pokemon franchise, a very popular franchise here. We will not be looking at the series, the TV series, but we will be looking at the movies here. The 16 seed right there. Coming in at the 8 seed, we've got The Maze Runner, a relatively new franchise there. Only 3 films, but 3 films that were pretty well received, at least received enough to get the 8 seed. Going up against the 9 seed, Home Alone. We're going Christmas here. Home Alone. This one also has some straight to video stuff, but you also have a lot of the originals carrying a lot of the weight there. And with the memory of Catherine O'Hara, maybe this has the potential to be a Cinderella sleeper pick at the 9 seed. But moving on to the 5 seed, we've got dun 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 Indiana Jones. Obviously, the last few films kind of took its rating down a bit, but it's still one of the most popular film franchises out there. So very, very exciting to see Indiana Jones representing the 5 seed here, and the 12 seed going up against it, Scream. I know a lot of people just shook in their seats, not just at the controversial political stuff going on with Scream right now, but the fact that Indiana Jones and Scream are going up against each other, two very nostalgic, very popular franchises. This is probably my hardest matchup in this bracket, and I haven't even seen the rest yet. But yeah, that's going to be tough. The 5 seed Indiana Jones, the 12 seed Scream. Again, some people might be surprised that Scream fell this low, but some other franchises are just a little bit more popular. You'll notice a lot of the R-rated franchises are just not going to be those top seeds just because they're not getting all the kids' dollars. So Scream, maybe a little bit low at a 12 seed, but that is what the numbers cranked it out to be. Moving on to the 4 seed here, Kung Fu Panda. Now that makes a lot of money right there. A lot of success there. A lot of good reviews there. Kung Fu Panda, probably DreamWorks' second or third most popular franchise behind one big one, which we'll get to in a bit. But going up against them is going to be the 13 seed here, which is going to be Predator. Predator just released a new film, 2 new films this year. Predator just keeps cranking them out, and is even getting better with time. This last few years of Predator has been really, really strong. So Kung Fu Panda, Predator could not be any more different, those 2 franchises, but we're going to see how that shakes out. Let's move on now to, I believe, the 3 seed. That's right. That's the big one I was just talking about, Shrek, DreamWorks' most profitable, most successful franchise there in the same bracket as Kung Fu Panda. I'm interested to see if that is going to be a potential Elite 8 matchup when we see Kung Fu Panda and Shrek square off for that Final 4 slot. We might see it happen. But who is Shrek going to go up against in the first round is going to be the 14 seed Saw. Saw. You might have seen my next one, so I'll just reveal it now. The 6 seed is The Hangover, and the 11 seed Rocky. Okay, so let's just talk about all those four. Saw, Shrek could not be any more different. And I will tell you right now, Saw and Shrek are also on today's voting. So you will get to vote today if you want to see Shrek or Saw. Jigsaw versus the giant ogre there. And then The Hangover and Rocky. Hangover, of course, very, very successful in just its three films. Third one, not as much so, at least reviews based. But they made a lot of money, those movies, especially that first one was such a big hit. Rocky, a little bit surprising that it's this low. It is the 11 seed going up against the 6 seed. It's the underdog, but it makes sense that Rocky would be an underdog in this bracket. Obviously, money was kind of what took Rocky out. Some of those movies did not do as well as some of the other ones, especially because some of the first few films were a little bit smaller. But the critics also, a lot of people have a lot of fondness for the nostalgia of Rocky, but the reviews weren't all there for all the Rocky films. But it did get helped a lot by the Creed films, which helped boost it up a bit to an 11 seed. But I think it's a little low for Rocky, but that's what the numbers said. Moving on to number 7. Oz, the Oz franchise. If you want to know what that is Wizard of Oz. That is Wicked. That is Return to Oz. That is The Wiz. Any Oz related film. Oz the Great and Powerful by Sam Raimi. A lot of heavy lifting from Wicked in terms of box office. A lot of heavy lifting from reviews from The Wizard of Oz. But when you have one of the greatest reviewed films of all time and one of the most profitable films in the last few years in a franchise together, that's going to definitely boost it up a lot. But going up against Oz is the 10 seed Alvin and the Chipmunks. Pretty shocked it made it all the way to the 10 seed here over the likes of like Rocky, which is an 11 seed, but Alvin and the Chipmunks, again, very profitable. Those kids love Alvin and the Chipmunks, made a lot of money. I think the kids franchises have a little bit more potential to make a little bit more money, and which is why they're a little bit higher on some of these seedings. Maybe a sneaky 10 seed, maybe it'll be dead on arrival. Maybe it's a little overseeded. We'll have to see what the bracketologists say in a sec. But number 2, big one here, Star Wars. Yep, there were some bad reviews amongst the midst, but it did not matter because the money speaks for Star Wars, getting the 2 seed here, one of the most profitable, especially when it comes to merchandising. And the reviews for that original trilogy and Force Awakens really helped kind of carry this over the finish line to the number 2 slot here. Going up against the 15 seed, the Muppets and Star Wars, 2 acquisitions from Disney, both heavily featured in Disney's new line of parks and merchandise. And, you know, Disney's really pushing both of these, especially this year. The Muppet Show returning this year, Star Wars having a new film in theaters, The Mandalorian and Grogu this year. So let's look at this bracket before we get some comments. Lion King, a strong 1 seed. I don't think it's going to be as big a juggernaut, though, as Avatar might be. We'll have to see, though, because I know there's a lot of passion for that first movie, but I know the live-action remake, we'll have to see if that kind of harpens a lot of the votes there. But I think the biggest contenders, I honestly think whoever gets out of that Indiana Jones Scream matchup has a very likely chance of getting that Final 4 slot there. I just think Indiana Jones and Scream, those fan bases are so strong. Whichever one prevails there, I could see making a deep run and potentially even winning this whole bracket. We could see Scream go on a big Cinderella story streak here as the number 12 slot. Shrek, I think, is also a very sneaky one because you're also including all the Puss in Boots movies with that. And the Puss in Boots movies are big fan favorites. But Rocky, you also get the Creed movies. So I think we're looking at like Star Wars being like the heavy favorite to emerge out of this bracket. But I think Indiana Jones, Scream, Shrek, and Rocky could give Star Wars a big run for its money. And if I had to vote for a hardest matchup, it's got to be Indiana Jones and Scream. I mean, that is one of the hardest matchups of this entire bracket. For Pokemon, will it be theatrically released in the US or will you include things only released in international theaters? I actually don't know the answer to that question, only because I just took a list of all of them, but there are 25 movies that I have listed for Pokemon, so I assume it's all iterations of Pokemon. It includes Detective Pikachu, which is US, but a lot of international ones as well. So I think it just encompasses all Pokemon. Will Pokemon be upset due to how bad Lion King remake is? It very well could. It very well could. And that could be why Lion King is looking like a weaker 1 seed, because yes, it has the box office to back it up, but it does not have the reviews, at least for the newer iterations of the remake and then Mufasa. But the original trilogy is very fond for a lot of people. I mean, a lot of people love Lion King 1.5. A lot of people love Lion King 2. Did Malcolm have to pay to have Pokemon on the list? No, he did not. Pokemon, if you're looking at just merchandising, is probably the number 1 seed, but I didn't take merchandising as high into account as I did box office and reviews. Andy, what's your favorite scary movie? Yep, Indiana Jones Scream is already the one that everyone's fearing. Everyone's worried about Indiana Jones and Scream. Shrek is love, Shrek is life. There's no chance Rocky loses the Hangover. We will see. Rocky has to pull an underdog win there. No way Oz loses to Alvin. We'll also see there. A lot of people fans of Alvin and the Chipmunks. You don't want to underestimate it. Are you including Muppet Wizard of Oz, or will that be in the Muppet franchise? We will see. I think if Oz wins the whole bracket, maybe we'll add Wizard of Oz to it. It wasn't originally in my lineup, but I can tell you what the Oz franchise, what I have listed right now. I have 6 films: Wizard of Oz, The Wiz, Return to Oz, Oz Great and Powerful, Wicked, and Wicked for Good. Those are the Oz. The Oz representatives. Sorry about that. I heard all your gazoon tights out there. Thank you. But that is going to be what the Oz films are. But if Oz wins, maybe we'll just throw in Wizard of Oz Muppets as well. Muppet Vision 3D, though, will be part of the Muppets if it wins, if it's able to beat Star Wars here. Will Muppet Wizard of Oz included in Oz or Muppets? Yeah, the same question. It'll be included probably in the Muppets. If either of those franchises win, we'll just throw them in there. How about that? Funny enough, Star Wars was featured on The Muppet Show. That is correct. Yep, Brian just asked that. Sorry, I'm just catching up with all these Star Wars features Muppets. Yeah, there you go. So looks like we got some good matchups. Everyone's agonizing over Indiana Jones and Scream as predicted. One of the coolest matchups, though, I do think is going to be that Hangover Rocky. Just because I'm interested to see if it's going to be a blowout or if there's going to be a sneaky contingent of Hangover fans that come out to play. But the most intriguing one for me is actually Shrek vs. Saw. I just love the idea of those two franchises going up against one another. Indiana Jones and Scream, it comes down to, which one do you hate more, Scream 7 or Indiana Jones 4? I think Indiana Jones 4 is a borderline A-tier Spielberg film. So I would definitely put my vote in the Indiana Jones camp for that movie versus Scream 7. But I do think in terms of franchises, it's a little bit harder just because those are two very, very solid franchises. But let's move on to the bottom right portion of the bracket. Wait, is this top? Bottom right. Sorry, bottom right portion of the bracket. I almost just spoiled the first matchup for you, but the bottom right. So we're going clockwise now. The bottom right portion of this bracket. This will be whoever kind of meets the winner of this bracket in the final 4 here. Our 1 seed, our third 1 seed, we got Middle Earth. Everyone knew it was coming. Everyone knew it was going to be a 1 seed. It was just a matter of where on the bracket it was going to be. It was the third highest rated franchise when we took numbers and box office. The Lion King box office was just so crazy that it put it at number 2, but this is the third overall ranked franchise in this bracket. It is probably going to be number 1 in a lot of people's hearts, but is The Hobbit enough? Because you're not just getting the Lord of the Rings, you're getting the Hobbit films, and you're getting the animated film that came out a few years ago, the something of the Rohirrim, War of the Rohirrim. I don't even remember the title because it was very unmemorable in terms of cultural impact. So I think Middle Earth is one of those 1 seeds that is so top heavy, but a lot of people have some detractions with the bottom of the barrel there. But I like the Hobbit films. Going up against the 16 seed, Child's Play, and I'll tell you right now, this is one of the 4 matchups you will also get to vote for today. Chucky is taking on Gandalf in this first round. Child's Play will include some of the straight-to-video, straight-to-TV stuff as well. Bride of Chucky, Cult of Chucky, Seed of Chucky, all that stuff. Very different franchises there, but both very popular. That's why they're on this list. But moving on, the 8 seed here, 007. This is a big one, jam-packed. A lot of James Bond films. All iterations of James Bond are here. I kind of started a James Bond watch through a few years ago, kind of dropped it because I had other priorities, and I want to get back into it. So if I'm championing something, I might want James Bond to make a deep run just because I think it'd be fun to finally cover all the Bond films. But only the 8 seed just because there are so many, so there's also room for a lot of box office failure, a lot of so-so reviews in the mix there. But going up against the 9 seed, High School Musical. I said I was rooting for James Bond. Now I might be rescinding that, but there could not be any more different franchises there than 007 and High School Musical. But High School Musical also includes Sharpay's Fabulous Adventures. So you get a bonus 4th movie on top of that. A very big franchise and a very small one, but 2 very mighty impacts nonetheless. Moving on to the 5 seed here, we got Batman. There you go, Matt. Batman gets the 5 seed here in the bracket. We'll have a matchup here in the first round against a 12 seed, which we'll reveal in a second. But Batman, again, we're not including all of these straight-to-video ones, animated films, but we're going to be including all the theatrical release ones and then maybe a select few animated straight-to-videos that feel very essential. But Batman getting the 5 seed, going up against the 12 seed, Mad Max. That's right, the original trilogy plus the two new George Miller films. A tough matchup, both kind of action skewed franchises. Batman, a comic book film, Mad Max, an action film through and through. Going to be very interesting to see who goes through in that matchup, considering the next matchup, which is the 4 seed Mission Impossible. So whoever wins, Batman or Mad Max, is going to have to face Tom Cruise in the second round. If Mission Impossible can get past the 11 seed here, the Karate Kid, sorry, the 13 seed, not the 11 seed. I can't get my math right. The Karate Kid. So a lot of action here in the first round in this bracket. Mad Max, obviously very high octane action. Mission Impossible, a lot of action. Karate Kid, a little bit more subtle action, but a lot of action nonetheless. It's a sports franchise that includes the original Ralph Macchio movies and the newer Jaden Smith movies and the newest movie where they bring Jackie Chan and Ralph Macchio together. It will not include Cobra Kai. I should specify that. It will not include Cobra Kai. That's a series. I just don't have the time for it right now. Maybe when I get around to doing these projects, maybe I'll have time for it. But let's move on to the 3 seed down here. We got the Hunger Games, a very popular newer franchise, obviously. Still cranking out movies. If this one wins the bracket, we'll also be including the newest movie in November to this list. So Hunger Games only has potential to grow in its stock or fall, but Hunger Games pretty successful so far. Going up against the what is this? The 3 seed, so it would be the 14 seed in The Purge. Two very similar franchises, actually. I think this is one where the actual franchises kind of make sense going up against each other in the first round. Obviously, Hunger Games, a dystopian action film. Purge, kind of this dystopian horror film. A little bit less fantastical, The Purge, but it's kind of based in this kind of alternate reality as a commentary for society and all that stuff. So very interesting first round there matchup. 6 seed, The Matrix. Yep, there were some bad reviews in the mix, but it didn't matter because The Matrix gets the 6th seed. It is the favorite here. Works really well with this green background I got going on. What will The Matrix be facing in the first round? The 11 seed, Pitch Perfect. This is my girlfriend Allie's favorite franchise. We will have to see if Neo can get with the I don't know. I was going to try to make a funny wordplay, but it's hard. You want to see Neo beatbox? Well, you can't have both. I don't know. Matrix, Pitch Perfect. These two could not be any more different. But we'll have to see which one comes out on top. The 7th seed in this bracket, we got Terminator, the Terminator franchise, another James Cameron franchise on the opposite end of Avatar. Started with James Cameron, evolved into so many other directors and actors and Emilia Clarke. So I think it'll be really interesting to see if the later Terminator films help or hurt the earlier ones. We'll have to see. But moving on to the 10 seed, we've got Alien, Terminator and Alien, another James Cameron related franchise. This one was totally random and it worked out perfectly because I think Terminator and Alien is such a good matchup. It really tickles the same nostalgic bone for so many people, same genre. They are both going to be hard to beat each other because you have some hits, you have some that people don't like, you have some modern iterations, old iterations, classic iterations, Cameron iterations. This Cameron first round match is really, really cool. I'm glad it shaped up. This is definitely the match to watch for me in the first round, the 7-10 matchup. But moving on, number 2 seed here, Pirates of the Caribbean, or Caribbean, whatever you want to say. I just came back from Disneyland where I rode this ride 4 or 5 times. I love this ride. Are the films gonna, put their money where their mouth is? We'll have to see because the money is certainly there. But what will it be going up against? The 15 seed is Diary of a Wimpy Kid. Will the Wimpy Kid beat Jack Sparrow? That is the question here. So those are the franchises for the bottom right portion of this bracket. I think the coolest first round matchups, obviously Batman and Mad Max, is going to be a real juggernaut there because Mad Max, I think, has the best film across maybe this whole bracket with Fury Road, but Batman has so many classics. The Dark Knight, Batman Begins, Batman Forever, Batman Returns, Batman versus Superman, the director's cut, which is good. So yeah, going to be really interesting. But the one you have to look at, though, is Terminator Alien. That is just the coolest matchup of the first round in terms of just like, it feels perfect like that these two are squaring off this early because also, you got to lose some favorites early on. And I think this is going to be relieving that one of these is going to have to go bye-bye. It might make other people feel better having to part with one of them so early instead of having to make the agonizing choice later. But as for who I think the favorite is in this bracket, I think it's, easy to say that Middle Earth has a pretty clear path to get at least to the Sweet 16, maybe even the Elite 8, but it's going to have a tough time getting getting past Batman, Mad Max, or Mission Impossible, whichever film kind of gets past in that quadrant. But I think whoever emerges at the top there, we're looking at Alien, Terminator, Matrix also being potential spoilers here in this bracket. But Middle Earth, I think, is still going to be the favorite here. We will have to see what happens. But let's see what the people are saying right now. Will the old animated movies be included in Middle Earth? Yes, they will, Matt. High School Musical beating out Bond would be shocking. It would be, but not on this channel. Batman, yes, there he is. Bond has a lot of bad movies. The best High School Musical is a TV show more than the movies. I don't know if I agree with that, but if High School Musical wins, maybe I'll also watch the TV show. Will a 1967 film? Yes. Yep. It's included. It's in my list. That includes for James Bond. Terminator. Oh, God. Terminator versus Alien. Yep. That is kind of how I reacted too. I was like, hey, Terminator. And I'm like, oh, Terminator versus Alien. And watch, there's even more crazy matchups in the last quadrant. But could get an Alien versus Predator matchup if it makes it far enough. Correct. Predator is able to make it to the final four. An Alien is able to make it to the final four. We will see an Alien versus Predator final four matchup for spawn the finals. Pirates, also one of my favorite Disney attractions. Diary of a Wimpy Kid is dead in water. Pirates will move on. We will have to see. Alien has gotten better. Sadly, Terminator has gotten worse. That is fair. You know what, Matt? I do rescind this because I said that and then I realized that there are 3 High School Musical films, 3 Lord of the Rings films, and then you also have The Matrix and Terminator 2 and Alien. Yeah, there's a lot of great films here. But Mad Max Fury Road might be other people's like favorite film here, but I really don't know. That's the thing. There's no one better film here than the rest. Dark Knight as well, like you said. So there's so many great films here. That's why I'm glad it's a franchise ranking, not a film ranking, because I think films would be even harder. But franchises, I think it's really going to be a matter of kind of what Chris said earlier. It's like, do you like Scream 7 or Indiana Jones 4 worse? It's like the question is going to be the lesser of two evils in terms of the bad. It's like, okay, we know what the good is, but is Terminator's worst movie worse than Alien's worst movie? That might be how we see this thing go. But let's move on to the final quadrant. This is the bottom left portion of the bracket. So the winner of this bracket will go up against the winner of this bracket. The bottom left portion. The final 1 seed that we've got to represent here is going to be, shocking everyone, Minions. Minions made it to the 1 seed. I will explain. The reviews aren't really there. The first movie, Despicable Me, is well reviewed. The thing that took the Minions over the edge was the money and the merchandising. The money is so strong for the Minions and the Despicable Me franchise that the Minions were able to clinch this 1 seed. A big shocker probably for some people out there, but if you look at the numbers, if you look at the averages, I mean, the Minions really came to play. The Minions are no joke in this bracket, but they will be going up against the Queen of Pink herself, Barbie. These are all the Barbie movies, not just the Greta Gerwig one, but all of the Barbie movies. We're doing all the TV Barbie movies. This was a request from Allie. Allie wants the Barbie movies represented, and I'm going to give her a fighting chance because if any 1 seed is to fall in the first round, it may just be the Minions. Matt, I'll already put it up there. Minions, throw the whole bracket out. Listen, Matt, I was just as shocked as all of you, but I'm also not shocked. When I crunched the numbers, it made sense that Minions was going to be pretty high up because also the people who love the Minions come to play. You know, they bring their 5-star reviews to Letterboxd, to Rotten Tomatoes. So it does have a very fan kind of cult classic. I shouldn't say classic, but has a cult mentality behind it. So Minions and Barbie, going to be very interesting to see which of these like toy, franchises, even though the Minions aren't toys to start with, but like, very like child based, very merchandise heavy franchises do. We'll have to see. But the 8th seed here, Bourne. I've never seen a Bourne film, so it might be cool to see this one prevail. This is Jason Bourne, all the Jason Bourne movies, the Jeremy Renner ones and the Matt Damon ones here. We'll have to see how that goes against the 9 seed, which is John Wick. I think this is a perfect matchup here because Bourne and John Wick feel like they kind of are cut from the same cloth. So it'll be very interesting, especially because whoever wins this bracket, Bourne or John Wick, will have to go up against the Minions or Barbie. And I just love the idea of the Minions taking on John Wick or Barbie taking on Jason Bourne. I just think it's funny wordplay. But let's move on to the 5 seed here, which is going to be the DCEU. Not as well received as some of the other franchises out there, but it made the money it needed, and it does have some hits that it did take it to the 5 seed. But as we know in real March Madness, the 5 seeds can always get upset by the 12s. It's a very common upset, and the 12 seed here is TMNT, a very strong, nostalgic favorite for some people. We will have to see if the Mutant Ninja Turtles, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, they're a little older now, but if they can take on Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, and the Flash to take a spot in the next round. Moving on now, we've got the 4 seed, Ice Age. Again, money speaks. This is kind of the money speaks bracket where you're getting Minions as a 1 seed. DCEU is a 5 seed. Ice Age is a 4 seed. I already see people out there saying that this is the weakest bracket so far just because a lot of the big movies here that are high seeded are because of the money. But Ice Age has some hits amongst them, so we'll have to see. But going up against Ice Age, the 13 seed, we have Jackass. You could kind of say that Scrat from Ice Age kind of belongs in the Jackass movies, because there's a lot of great hijinks in the Jackass movies. A new Jackass movie coming out this year, so we'll have to see if this one wins, if we're able to loop that one in to cover that as well. But let's move on to the 3 seed here. Fast and Furious. Again, money speaks, people. These might not be your favorite films. These may not be your favorite franchises, but they do have the money behind them to justify their high placements, high seedings. Fast and Furious will be taking on the 14 seed, The Exorcist. So The Exorcist, really top heavy. That first film is very, very, very popular. But we'll have to see if the sequels are enough for people to want to vote for it over Fast and Furious. Again, I think this is kind of a very interesting bracket because I don't think the movies here are as consistently high in quality as some of the other brackets, but the money there is very interesting. Are you going to take the franchises that make a lot of money and are very successful, like Fast and Furious? Or are you going to take franchise that maybe not doesn't have the best movies, but that one movie, The Exorcist, is probably better than every single Fast and Furious movie? So we'll have to see how that matchup goes. But moving on to the 6th seed here, we've got Men in Black, another franchise for Will Smith, who was in the bracket for Bad Boys earlier. He is on this bracket again for Men in Black. Very interested to see how it'll prevail against the 11 seed Star Trek. 2 sci-fi franchises. You were probably all wondering, where's Star Trek? Where's Star Trek? Yep, it's right there. Men in Black, number 6. Star Trek, number 11. Star Trek, a little bit of a surprising 11 seed. I was surprised it fell this low, but I guess Star Trek is not one of the more profitable series out there. But I think in terms of quality and fan base, I think Star Trek is in like the top 10 for fan base. I think the fans of Star Trek are so vocal. I have no problem seeing Star Trek kind of make a run in this bracket, especially given that the competition in this bracket so far is not as strong, I think, as some of the other ones. But here's the 7 seed. We've got Back to the Future, another sci-fi nostalgic franchise. It's only 3 films, but it's 3 great films that people really, really love. One of the only trilogies being represented here. We have this trilogy, we have the Avatar trilogy. Very few trilogies. A lot of these franchises are at least 4 or more films. So we'll have to see if Back to the Future, if that works for or against it, especially against the 10 seed Planet of the Apes, which has a bunch of films. This is one of my favorite matchups because I think Back to the Future, if you look at just average quality, it's just so consistent. But Planet of the Apes is consistent, but it also has the quantity. It has a lot of movies on its side and a lot of interesting things it's doing with its franchise in recent years. So Planet of the Apes, such a long-spanning franchise, gets the 10 seed here. Again, not the most profitable financial franchise, but very successful nonetheless with the reviews. But what are our last 2 franchises? I know you guys are all out there humming the John Williams theme song, so I might as well reveal it. Number 2, Harry Potter, the Wizarding World of Harry Potter. That includes Fantastic Beasts as well, but I know all of you were like, where's Harry Potter? It's the 2 seed. It obviously was going to rank in the top few seeds just because it is super successful. There's a whole theme park for it. But will the recent J.K. Rowling controversy kind of take effect in this franchise's chances? In the bracket, we could see an early out for Harry Potter, especially if it has to go up against Planet of the Apes or Back to the Future in the second round, definitely against Star Trek in the third. But we'll have to see if the controversy is enough or if Harry Potter will have an easy path to the final 4. We will have to see. But let's move on. The final film in our bracket going up against Harry Potter, the last film franchise, we have Vacation. Holiday Road, baby. You got Christmas Vacation. You got the original Vacation. You got European Vacation, Vegas Vacation, and of course, the new Vacation film with Ed Helms, which I actually think is super underrated. So, Vacation. Do you want a vacation to the Wizarding World of Harry Potter in Orlando or Universal in Hollywood? We'll have to find out. But looking at this bracket, I think this one for me has some of the lower points of the bracket. Like, I'm not a huge Minions guy, not a huge Bourne guy, not a huge Fast and Furious guy. I'm not even a huge Exorcist guy. But I think this bottom portion of the bracket is super strong with Star Trek, Men in Black, Back to the Future, Planet of the Apes, and Harry Potter. Those 5, I could see any of those 5 being the winner of this whole bracket here in terms of this quadrant. I think any of these film franchises are going to have a tough time once you get up to the higher ones, because especially if they have to go up against a Toy Story or an Avatar or Evil Dead or Superman, Transformers, it's going to be a little tough just because there are some big vocal fans. But let us look at the bracket at large. There it is. I'm going to try to put it all on one screen for you. There you go. So there you go. That is your first bracket there. Really, really exciting stuff. Really, really, really exciting stuff. I think it's going to be really interesting to see which franchises prevail here. The toughest matchups of the bracket, I would say, Jaws. Sorry, no, Toy Story, Evil Dead. I think is the toughest one on the top left there. I think obviously Indiana Jones, Scream is very tough. I think Terminator, Alien is super tough, and then I would say Back to the Future, Planet of the Apes is a tough one on the bottom left there. But let's see what everyone's saying about the bottom left quadrant. We have Carly's going to be so excited about Barbie. I really hope she is. Yes, Jackass, TMNT, 7-year-old me is so excited. So is 41-year-old me. I was wondering when Back to the Future was going to show up. Yeah, it's really cool holding your breath and seeing when these franchises are going to fall. Planet of the Apes has high highs and low lows. Please include Shockma. We'll have to see. Christmas Vacation 2. I didn't know there was a Christmas Vacation 2. Probably. It'll probably be part of the franchise, but Minions franchise includes, yes, all 4 Despicable Me films will be part of Minions. So it's Despicable Me, Minions, and I think that's it. But yeah, the Minions films and Despicable Me films. So I think it's like 7 or 8 films total. John Wick might be the highest one. Yeah, John Wick and Bourne is going to be really, really tough. View Askew and Spider-Man not make the cut. So Spider-Man, I didn't include any Marvel franchises just because we have the Marvel podcast, Kelsey and I. So if we ever do a Spider-Man ranking, that'll just be its own Marvel-ous Movie Mondays thing. And then View Askew, I did not put that here. No, it just was not part of the 64 most profitable or well-reviewed movie franchises. I had about like 80 of them, and I kind of just crunched some numbers. But maybe on a future bracket, maybe someday View Askew will be there. But this is the fun part now. I get to put the link right down there. Boom! If you see the comments right there, that is the survey for March Madness Day 1. This will close at 3 or 4 p.m. tomorrow Eastern time, so you have about 24 hours. How these matchups are going to go, the matchups will be released in batches of 2 to 4 matchups every single day. In this first round, we'll have a few four matchups for the first few days. You'll get a link and you'll have 24 hours to complete it. And then we will cycle through the next few matchups. So the matchups you have to look forward to today, as I said, I kind of teased them already, but we have the first matchup going to be The Conjuring and Bad Boys. As I said, The Conjuring includes Annabelle, The Nun, the Conjuring movies. That is the 8 seed, and then the 9 seed Bad Boys. That is going to be your 9 seed that you're voting on today. That is going to be a fun battle. You also have Mission Impossible and the Karate Kid that you will get to vote for today. Tom Cruise and Ralph Macchio, 2 of our favorite short kings. Actually, I don't know if Ralph Macchio is that short, but let's move on to the next one. Shrek and Saw, the 314 matchup here is going to be one you get to vote on. And then, of course, Middle Earth and Child's Play is going to be the last one you'll vote on today. So those are the 4 matchups you can vote for today. And just to remind you, Shrek also includes Shrek 4D. It includes Shrek the Musical. It includes Puss in Boots. Just like Middle Earth also includes The Hobbit. It includes the Lord of the Rings Rohirrim film. So just be mindful that these include the entirety of those franchises when you go on to vote. But thank you so much. I will show the bracket one more time in case you want to screenshot it. I'll also probably put it on the Facebook page. If you want to find these links, where will you go? You will go to the Dill Pickle Movie Network Facebook page. You will go to the Dill Pickle Movie Network Discord. If you need links to either of those things, DM me or post in the group or do something. It's easy. Just search the Dill Pickle Movie Network on Facebook, and from there, you can then get to the Discord. But if you're not in either of those things, come on in because I will not be posting daily links. I'll try my best to, at least maybe in the comments here. If you want to come to the comment section, I might post day 1, day 2. If you need a pointer, though, the actual link here is dylanrandazzo64.survey.fm/march-madness-day-1. Good news is if you just substitute 1 with 2 and 2 with 3, 3 with 4, you will most likely get to find the link yourself if you want to just type it in. But it's easier to just do it through the Discord and Facebook. But that's another way to do it. It'll always be labeled day 1, day 2, day 3. But it is March 3rd and we're doing day 1. So just don't get messed up with the math there. But I will reveal the winners after every single round of voting on the Facebook page. I'll let you know who came on top. And I will keep an eye out to see how these franchises do. I can already tell you, just based on the first few votes alone, The Conjuring is leading Bad Boys. The Karate Kid is leading Mission Impossible. Shrek is leading Saw, and Middle Earth is leading Child's Play. So right now there is already one upset in the midst where Karate Kid so far has a lead over Mission Impossible. So if you want to change that, go to the vote. And yes, Brian, this will be daily. So there will be matches daily until the end of March to kind of give you an idea for the schedule. We have the first 4 matches today. Tomorrow, we will have the next 4 matches. I can tell you right now, it's going to be Avatar and Hellraiser, Batman Mad Max, The Hangover Rocky, and James Bond High School Musical. And then on March 5th, we'll have 4 more rounds. On March 6th, we'll have 2 rounds. 7th, we'll have 2 rounds. And we'll keep going 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th. On the 16th of March is when we start our round of 32. So we will have finished this first round on March 15th. On the 16th, we will start the next round, and that will go until the 24th. And then the 24th will be the Sweet 16. And then the 28th will start the Elite 8. Then on March 30th, you will get to vote for your final 2. And then on March 31st, we will have our finals. So there will be at least a poll every single day, voting for at least 2 matchups or 1 matchup, depending on when we get closer to the end. But as I said, right now, you can vote for Conjuring Bad Boys, Mission Impossible, Karate Kid, Shrek, Saw, Middle Earth, Child's Play right now. Just go to the link right here, and stay tuned. This is going to be fun. Thanks for watching. I'll be back tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern Time to reveal my Pickle Award nominees. I'm really excited. I have a few last films to watch today. I have a few animated films and No Other Choice to watch today, and then I'll post my Pickle Award nominations tomorrow morning. I'll do that live as well, so stay tuned. It's going to be a fun time. And to answer Chris's question, no, Harry Potter will not include Cursed Child. We're only going to do films for this, or like really long short films, if that counts. But thank you guys for watching this bracket selection show. I hope you enjoy, and I hope you vote for who you want to win, and I hope the best film franchise wins. Let's hope that's not the Minions. Thanks so much, and we'll see you next time. Bye.